If it helps, Jim, I don't know if you have them or if they showed up. I put the agenda and the materials in the chat on Teams for you.
Perfect. Yeah, somehow my computer is not pulling it up.
Do you want me to get the approval of the agenda and the meeting minutes then?
Yeah, go ahead. There's too many security clearance. I keep on having to redo it. Can you help me out with that? Keep on having to log in and somehow it's giving me difficulty.
Yep. I guess I need to ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move.
Second,
Jim?
all in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Can't talk today. All right, motion is approved. And then I need a motion to approve the meeting minutes from October 19th, 2025.
Jim, I
I'll
can.
move.
Jim was the motion and second.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Motion is approved. I'll be honest, I don't know where to go from there. Sorry, Jim, that's what I can help you out with.
Okay, thank you. I got it up now. Thanks a lot. All right, so action item for 6700 0300 adult learning course, which is attached. And I think we're going to be discussing about the hours. If Alicia, you can take us off on that, and then we'll have full discussion on it.
Sure. So the two things that need to be set yet are the number of hours for the adult learning instructor development or curriculum development course. The first spot where that number needs to be plugged in is going to be under subpart 8, item C, which is in red in the packet materials, and then it's going to be subpart 9, item A6. So I went through and Katie assisted with finding some of the, I guess, online adult learning or education trainings that are out there that we could find. We also touched base with a couple of schools, so those are listed on the item 4A for you all. So talk to HTC. It sounds like they do 5 in-service days per year. Ultimately, they end up spending a minimum of 10 hours per year on topics related to adult learning or education as like more formal in-house in-service training. He said that each in-service day, they spend 2 to 4 hours on those specific topics. It was the same or similar for Mankato and all the other, what do they call them? Metro State schools. So then I touched base with Rasmussen, who would not be following Metro State rules, and he Bentley said that they do a minimum of 16 Rasmussen education credits are what they call them, and those are made up of teaching development and discipline, compliance training, and employee development. So they're in the ballpark of 16. For the training links that we have, Katie and I found like 6 different options that were, not like a formal certificate from a university that would cost, a couple $1,000s. So the first one was a teaching adult learning course we found that's offered through Minnesota West for $147. That one, I was not too sure on. Oh, there it is. 24 hours is how long that course is. The next one is from High Desert Medical College. I'm not sure if it would be the best one since I think it more so is geared toward nursing, but just for an hour's reference, it's 30 hours long for $114. There's a Renew a Teaching License program that we found that specifies or that deals specifically with curriculum development, 5 hours for $39, self-guided online. There's apparently this online platform called Coursera, where they have all kinds of different courses, like it reminded me of like a Patrol Online where you get an account and you can go in and pay for all these different trainings. They have one that's a self-guided online and curriculum, 10 hours. I had to create an account to get in there and see how much that was, which I did not do. So I'm not sure how much that one would be, but it's 10 hours. Found one from National University, 50 hours for 625. And then vet certificates, 22 hours for $1,200. So those are the different things that we found. So yeah.
Any questions or discussions? So Alicia, would that would mean why you guys kind of came up with a ideal 10 hours minimum per year based upon kind of some of these training options? That's the idea behind it, right? Like the minimum hours, since we can't force people to go to specific learning courses, is that what we're talking about, so that if they chose either any of these, that they would still meet the requirement that we set forth?
This list was more so just we were asked to gather information on like what was out there and what schools were currently doing for training. So that's what this list is for, is just to give you all an idea of what types of trainings we were able to find that were like reasonably priced. And then what the schools are currently doing. So it's up to the board. You could either, if you want it to be in service, but you want to designate like conditions for in-service training to meet however many hours to satisfy the adult learning instructor development requirement, you can do that. Recapping from your last meeting, it sounds like just informal workshops on the topic were kind of a hard pass, I think is how you guys were leaning last time.
Yep.
So then if you don't want it to be in-service training at all, because remember, this is once. You have to do it at least once at some point ever. It isn't an ongoing requirement. So if you as the board would like to say that you have to go to do a more formal education process through some kind of certified course or something, you can also say that, and then you can say minimally it has to be X number of hours, you can do that. So this is whatever you guys would like to do, and then I'll just argue the need and reasonableness for it.
Yeah, so let's have a discussion on that. I do appreciate, last time I think somebody brought up the point about having it outside of just your regular learning in service through the school, so that we can prove that there is some substance in the adult learning objectives of the professors when they're actually teaching, so that we have a baseline that they have done some sort of certified type of work to show proof that they're also going to engage in those type of conversation. I don't really have a problem with that at all. I think it's good that we would do something similar to that, because we, according to what we talked about last time too, we also talked about like a grace period. So they do have an option to, if they don't have that type of course criteria, that they can get that during, even after they're part of the program and are working into it, that 2 years, I think it was 2 years, right? 2
Correct.
years being employed, that they shall at least get that done. So I don't think it's a big ask. I think it's, if we're going to legitimize our profession to make it have some type of standard, we have to at least start somewhere. Now, the 10-hour one, the 10-hour mark itself, I mean, that's up for question and debate and conversation, but I do agree that the curriculum piece should be outside of that in-service kind of just development within the organization at whichever schools. Bobby, you have something comment? I think you're the one that actually brought this up because you're more
Right.
familiar with this
Yep.
background.
I did. And I'll just say I've taken several courses through Coursera. It's a great online. They do a good job with development. I guess I just want some clarification. So Alicia, are you asking us to do two things? Put a hour, how many hours, but then that would have to then be connected with an actual course. So like, are you wanting us to say you have to take the 16-hour course through Metro State? I just want to understand exactly what we're being asked to do. I get
Okay.
the hours, but I think it's the other part that you had mentioned, you know, I don't, that, if you want to just expand on
Okay,
that.
yeah, absolutely. So what I would need for this specific provision to complete it is the number of hours, like you said, but then I also need to know how you want them to achieve those hours. So from the last meeting, it sounds like just doing a workshop, like a 1-hour workshop,
Right.
was not gonna work. It wasn't something this group was interested in fulfilling that requirement. I think the conversation you all had was maybe tentative about the schools doing in-service training to meet that requirement, but you wanted to dictate how many hours they needed to do their in-service training. Or you could pick to do, they need to do a minimum X amount of hours course, and it cannot be satisfied by in-service training. If that, so I need to know like what medium you would like them to receive the set number of hours of training that you would like. Is it okay that they fill that through in-service when they first start and take on a position? Or do you want them to go through something more, I guess, formal, like a Coursea course or going to a course in person? So that's kind of the other piece that I would like you to direct me upon.
Okay. Okay.
Hope that helps.
Yes, so if with that in mind, we can kind of open it up. So from my perspective, even with you giving us some of these options here, it appears that many of them are in the around the 10-hour range. And so obviously if we put in a hour number there, the distinction, the requirement of the course, or however that learning environment teaches, I think any of these would have qualified for that process. Now, I think the only argument I can see happening is if there's a in-service kind of a like the school provide their own kind of internal training curriculum that if they decide to do the 10-hour, whatever number we put out there, if we're gonna be able to see that that's gonna meet our threshold. But if we set a secondary piece of it to say that it has to be from a actual course that's reputable, I think that's where we can kind of tackle that piece of it, so that like for example, Rasmussen can't just do an in-house kind of workshop for 10 hours to cover that. Like they have to, if they're going to do that, they have to create a learning objective coursework to fulfill that piece that actually goes through and talks about some of those objectives that we really want them to touch on for the student to, or the future professor that's teaching this to at least grasp and understand the concept of it. So I think from my understanding, Alicia, then for your point is, so the 10 hours and then how they're going to achieve this. Now, obviously, we can't say that they have to go to Metro State to go through their course. Obviously, that's not the purpose here, but as long as the course is somewhat of a certified type course that have these kind of learning objectives within that coursework, and it meets those hours that we talk about, and then it can show proof the proficiency of the student who goes through that course, that they're going to develop those cognitive belief, and so they're going to be able to project that during their teaching.
Yes.
Sheriff, I know, from a sheriff standpoint, what do you think about, is it too much to ask for something like that? Or would you think it's more, reasonable to have our folks who are in these environment have this, kind of request from the board regarding their staff when they're teaching?
Yes, I don't. That would,
Nope, I can't hear him.
That's even worse.
Sign language?
all right. Now,
It's really quiet.
Really quiet.
okay, how about now?
Better.
Yeah, your question, I think, was, is it unreasonable? I don't believe it would be if that was your question. I almost forgot your question. It was so much time between, I'm getting older, Jim.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to make sure, from a standpoint, from a, administrative capacity from, organization, that when our students are coming from these institutions to get hired as a police officer, that they are being taught those adult kind of aspects, so that our folks who are graduating, obviously, we have some sort of a belief that they are, ingrained in those type of understanding and, development, when we're hiring them. Kelly, what do you think, Kelly? I know, you're actually a trainer yourself. What do you think about, kind of the hours and that expectation for that course, development?
I think it's definitely needed. I'm just kind of curious if 10 hours is not enough. I mean, depending on what kind of topics is going to be discussed, I think that some of the topics that and they can get pretty probably lengthy if you actually are teaching them appropriately. And I don't know if it would break it up into 2 5-hour days or how that would work, but I almost feel like it should be like a 16-hour or something a little bit more longer, in my opinion. I mean, I've been teaching at Hennepin Tech since 2004, and I don't think I ever went through any kind of formal training on any of the teaching stuff. I just knew my topic because it was my specialty. But I definitely think this is needed with seeing some of the newer instructors coming in and kind of going rogue and doing their own thing. And I know we've been getting complaints from students on teaching styles and how they're some of the unprofessional teaching styles there. So I think this is definitely long overdue. And I just think 10 hours is probably not enough, in my opinion. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I think 10 hours is too full.
I agree with Kelly. I guess in my mind, I was thinking somewhere 16 to 24. I don't think 10 is enough.
How many topics do they need to cover for this?
So it can be, it's an or situation, so it could be a course in adult learning, instructor development, or curriculum development. I've never taken a course in any of those, but I would imagine that there would easily be, if you were just doing a course in one of those topics, I would imagine there's enough content for 2 full-out 8-hour days.
Yeah.
If you do a course on all of them, I would imagine that you could get to 40 hours and have a full
Oh,
1-week
absolutely.
class.
I mean, especially with like the adult learning thing, because I have gone through the adult learning thing separately through the patrol. And I think that one was actually a 16-hour because we had to do projects and presentations and we actually had to show our skill set and there was a curriculum that we had to do our own curriculum kind of thing and so it was definitely 2 full days.
Mhm.
So I think we should bump that up from 10 to at minimum 16.
Okay, so if we kind of look at what, Alicia and her team kind of brought to us, out of the 6 kind of course option here, that will eliminate 2 of the 6. So when you're thinking about, there is such programs and coursework out there that can facilitate the 16-hour request. So that's not hard to achieve. So I don't think that's an unreasonable ask to have our instructor be well knowledge within these type of environment. So for example, I just kind of click on one of them. I mean, it talks about helping the instructor create positive learning environment, understanding different learning skills and styles, basing teaching methods, planning their coursework, educational aids and classroom technology, talk about that, and then creative, effective presentation. So obviously, if they go through this, they're going to at least understand what type of presentation is more effective, what type, is it PowerPoint, is it through lecture, grading and advising of students. So these are all skill set that I think, and this is the one that I picked, was the one for 24-hour course, the one for where is it? Yeah, that first one, the Minnesota West Community Technical College. So in here, it gives you a lot of those lesson plans that, yeah, I get it that many of those professors may have already even got some of these already, but the ones who don't, this is going to solidify their or enhance their teaching ability to even do a better job at promoting the learning objectives for the college. Okay, so 16 hours is what I hear. Are you guys talking about 24 or?
That's a lot to cram into 16 hours too.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can we say a minimum of 16 hours or a minimum of,
We can put a minimum.
because that way if they
Mhm.
find a course that has a longer thing, not trying to cram it into 16 hours where they can't go over. If it is a good, a good certified course or whatever it is, I would say a minimum of 16 hours.
Yeah, I agree.
Troy, you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
All right, Alicia, would you be able to craft something like that in your language regarding 16 hours of kind of a minimum for learning objective type of coursework instruction regarding curriculum development and adult learning? And I think with that, I mean, even just within your search here, 16 hours, that can fulfill some of these available courses already. And I expect some of those college institutions also have their own classes that they probably even carry, I would think.
Yeah, so what I have is full-time instructors must complete minimally an official 16-hour course in adult learning instruction, instructor development or curriculum development prior to or within the first 2 years of being employed as an instructor with a certified school. A college or university's in-service training does not satisfy this requirement.
Mhm.
Maybe should we / workshop? Because sometimes those two can be interchangeable. I've seen it work before, I mean, used before.
Yes. So then a follow-up question for you all. There's a similar provision for the director of the program of a certified school under subpart 9A6. So I would assume you want the same language stating that a workshop or in-service training does not satisfy the requirement. Do you want 16 hours for that individual, or would you like them to do more? Or just the 16 hours? Okay.
I think the 16 hours would suffice that, because if you think about it, if the person who is teaching some of the coursework under the program requirement for that institution, and now let's say that opportunity opens up to be a school director and they tackle on that position, they should at least have that qualification to be there, right? Like they shouldn't be going into a different to get a higher qualification to tackle on that position. You know what I mean? Like, so that's how I can kind of see that having the same will suffice what we're our obligation of trying to get a standard going. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, because otherwise, if we change this, then the person who's gonna go into that appointed certified director position, they have to have more coursework to add those numbers up or beyond the 16. Do we want that or we don't? Is what I'm trying to have a conversation on.
Jim, just so I'm following what you're saying. So are you talking about if an instructor who has fulfilled the 16-hour then becomes the director, that then they would have to take additional?
No, they
It's-
don't. They don't. But if we add a different requirement here, then they will.
Yeah,
To successfully meet our rules, right?
right,
Now,
right.
yeah, so then we would actually change that requirement for the institution who is gonna be requesting that replacement or the new hiree for that. I mean, it's kind of like an administrative position or for them, right? Because they're now actually tackling more of the higher responsibility for their school program. But if we change this number, it will make that new requirement. So then they won't fulfill that position through us without taking additional adult learning coursework. If we change the number, if we leave it the same as the other one, then it'll be exactly fine. So the question here is, Alicia, am I getting it right? Do we want to keep it the same as the other part?
Yeah, and I think there's two ways of looking at it. One, I think you do bring up a valid point. If you leave it the same and you keep it 16, then a person who was an instructor and then steps into the role of director, since the requirement is prior to or within 2 years, then they would not have to redo an official course in any of those things. I think then you can have the other argument. The other way is if you're now the director and you're overseeing other instructors, should you then have additional training in those concepts since you're overseeing other instructors? So I think there's two different camps that you can be in when you consider setting this number.
I think if somebody is gonna be going from instructor to director, they need to have additional training. So.
Right. I guess that's what I was thinking also. And I'm not sure if it's this is the training that they need to have, or if they need to have more of an auditing course, you know?
Yeah, so that's Bob, you're kind of going where I'm going, because this type of training, from my understanding, is the baseline approach for the individual to learn all of these functions and all of these objectives of how to teach, how to prepare their material, what to look for. Now, when you're stepping into that leadership program director level, the chances of you teaching is a little bit off, right? You're actually the person who's administratively running it. So, Bob, you're right. I mean, the requirement should almost be different, like kind of like sheriff. His role is different from the deputy's role, and he's got to learn more administrative capacity versus the person on the boots doing their stuff. There's different kind of responsibility, so to say. So that would mean we probably won't even need this box, but we probably have a different requirement, because this box, they should have at least have that already, right? That's my
Mhm.
understanding. They should already have that already. And that shouldn't even be part of the question, but they should have another qualification so that we can show that they understand how to run a program, how to successfully create their program to fulfill our post objectives. So that would probably lead to something like Bobby was saying, like things in the area of oversight or
Evaluation.
evaluation to analyst to, I mean, all that other stuff. Well, Alicia, is that too much to ask, or that's something that we're actually expected to create, right?
I think that is reasonable, and I can argue the need for it. Looking online here, it looks like there are instructional supervision certificates. One that I just found is an online course that costs $744 per credit, so I don't know. It's 6
Oh.
courses, it's an actual thing. So that would be like a degree certificate program, so I don't know that you want that, but an overview Google search shows that there are official like supervising instructor courses that are available in instructional supervision, academic theory, and leadership. Just on a quick search. Performance management.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay keeping, if you want to keep it at 16 hours, I guess, but then I would just want the subject matter to be, it's not just about adult learning styles or curriculum development. It needs to be about how do you evaluate instructors? How do you evaluate curriculum to ensure that it's meeting minimum standards, that kind of thing. I don't know if you're going to get that in 16 hours, but
Well, Sheriff, I mean, when the Sheriff's Association put some of their kind of coursework for maybe a new sheriff who was chosen to kind of go through some type of coursework so that they have a baseline understanding how to operate their organization. I think the Sheriff's Association has stuff like that, right? So for example, I'm just trying to think, even the Chiefs Association, they should have like a baseline of how long a coursework like that would be. So if you reflect that over on the education side, there should be some type of evaluation standard to at least have that so that we can kind of have that as a standard for us.
Yeah, it's an original title for the course. It's called New Sheriff School.
How many
But,
hours?
It's a 40-hour course as far as, so that, I mean, that might be more than we're looking for here, but it is a 40-hour course and it deals with a lot of different topics, obviously, because if we're using my example, you could be a chief of police and win, be elected sheriff. And so they don't know all the ins and outs of a sheriff's office. And so that's why it's 40. But there's also the National Sheriff's Institute. So that's another 40-hour course. So when you're switching gears from being a deputy or a sergeant or chief deputy to sheriff, it's obviously a lot of administrative stuff that comes into play, and it's not the same as being a deputy. I just said to my wife today, because I told her I have, several meetings today, and I said, this is not what I went to cop school for. And I'm a pretty simple guy, so it was that simplified. But so no, I mean the roles are different, and I'm not in the world of academia, but there certainly is a big difference from instructing in a classroom to suddenly being in charge of all the instructors and the coursework and making sure the courses meet the requirements and that they're being taught appropriately. And Bobby hit the evaluating, you know, it's not only evaluating staff, but it's evaluating the curriculum and it's evaluating, do we have the appropriate space for the learning environment and all of those things. So it's a whole different piece of the education system. So I certainly can see that it would require some level of introduction to that administrative role.
Chair, thanks for the insight on that. I really appreciate, it does kind of clear my view of our objectives of what we want, right? I mean, we want to make sure schools are going to be successful. We want to make sure that the certificate, or not the certificate, but the program director has all the learning requirement to be able to successfully run their program. Alicia, go ahead. Sorry, I saw your hand up.
No, it's okay. So I think Bobby was correct when she said that the vein that maybe you all would be looking for, it's in supervision of instruction and or evaluation. There's a course with Liberty University that offers a course in supervision of instruction, which covers methods, theories, and research applying to the supervision of all levels of education. Study of supervisory methods, instructional materials, evaluations. It doesn't list a number of hours or a cost, but it exists. I found one with the Principals Training Center. Looks like it's a 6-day course, probably equivalent to a week in instructional supervision and evaluation. And it says that it looks at supervision, evaluation, and professional growth processes based on effective teaching standards. Planning, instruction, and assessments, in-person evaluations. And then the third one I found is from University of Phoenix. This one is 3 credits. So I'm gonna guess you have to pay the per credit cost through these guys. It's 8 weeks. But it talks about the exploring the supervision and evaluation of instructional programs. So I think Bobby was right in the vein that maybe you are all thinking of. So then I can list, instead of in adult learning, instructor development, or curriculum development, it would be however many hour course in instructional supervision and or evaluations.
Yeah, so I would say at a minimum, if just you listing that off, and if my memory serves me right, I think the minimum you said was maybe five days or something like that. So 40 hours might be much, but like I would say like at least a 36-hour, 24 to 36-hour coursework in management, administrative supervision type course. I would believe that many of them will probably have that as their requirement already, like the person who's going to even apply to be in that role should already have that. But for our purpose here, if they don't have that, that's where we would our rule would kick in to say that they are required to at least go within their 2 years of being an employee as the director to fulfill that. Right. So I think that's not a big ask. Now, I'm just thinking either 24 or 36 is reasonable, or however we decide on that.
That's a lot of courses, so maybe a minimum of 36 hours.
Yeah, I was thinking 32 or 36.
Okay. Sheriff, what do you think? You guys' first, sheriff is 40 hours apparently, so.
Yeah, our training is a 40-hour plus they highly recommend an additional 40 hours. So, but yeah, as far as this goes, I mean, we're allowing 2 years to meet the requirement. And so, I mean, I don't think 32 or 36 would be considered unreasonable, especially 32. It's a nice number because it's 16 per year. If you were trying to split it between the 2 years, it requires 16 credits or hours per year, which that doesn't seem unreasonable to me.
I'm fine with 32.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, Alicia, we can just kind of have the verbiage of something like minimum 32 or more, or something like that within those purview.
So I have complete minimally, 32, an official 32-hour course in instructional supervision or evaluation prior to or within the first 2 years of being employed as a director with a certified school. A college or university workshop or in-service training does not satisfy this requirement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Sounds good. It sounds pretty good.
And then I know I should know this, but so Alicia, is this something then when post staff are doing their annual or some biannual, whatever it is, checks, that then if somebody has completed this, then they would know that they have completed this. Like they don't have to come back to the board with anything saying, here, I've done this. That's kind of going to be uncovered when staff is doing just kind of the work that they do.
Correct. And this rule changes the recertification cycle to every 3 years. So, I mean, we should catch this relatively quickly if somebody just hit their 2-year mark and hasn't
Mhm.
done the training. And that would most likely be done through a recertification process where Rob is going through all of the instructor documents because they have to keep information on instructors that show their qualifications. And if
Mhm.
now that they're going to be subject to additional requirements, the schools will have to keep documentation showing that the instructors meet these requirements. So if they're not able to provide that or it's found, they
Yep.
haven't done it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, yeah, and I think it would also uncover too, if let's say a director leaves and they hire a new one, and that new director is trying to establish their basically residency, or they're running that program, then that's when our our post board coordinators will be gathering those documents, right, to show proof that they're proficient in our standard.
Yes, and then any director appointment goes through the training committee, so then they would also be able to vet all of that information.
Okay. Good, thank you. I don't think that's unreasonable. I think it's a good soft number. Okay, all right, good. I think that's good. Now, Alicia, with that, if any objection to that 32 hour, if not, then we'll kind of move on to the next action item.
Yeah, with those adjustments, just need to know if this group is ready to pass it on to the full board for the meeting on the 22nd.
The 30, the 03, I mean, the 0300, is that the one? Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I agree. I think we already hammered it out a couple times already now. Unless someone sees something else in here that we should further look, but I do think we already took a couple look into it, and I think it's good enough to go. And I'm sure if the full board have concerns or questions, I'm sure they'll raise it up and probably send it back to us. But I think we put in a pretty good package, I believe.
Mhm.
Okay, I mean, I don't think we need a vote, but Sheriff, Kelly, you guys okay with us moving forward to presenting this to the full board?
Yeah,
Okay, all right, I think that's what we need then. Good, what else? I think that's it for this, right, Kelly? And then is there any updates or future, topics that you want to just kind of lay it out, so that we can kind of start, understanding what we're expected to, and then I guess after that, we'll just adjourn.
Should be on that one or? Move it to the board. I think Sydney for the minutes needs since it was brought back.
I can make a motion.
Okay, and then would it be okay if we use Troy as the second, since he was the second audible voice on that?
Yep.
So back to your question, Jim, moving forward, so I have a ton of essentially all of the rules now that this group has approved and passed to the full board are going to be on the agenda for the 22nd. So the plan is, I'm hoping everything will get approved. There might be some modifications. And then I will also be asking on the 22nd for permission to repost a request for comments in the state register. It's been 2 years since our initial posting and request for comment. And when we did the initial posting, we didn't know what changes we were doing or to which rule. So I think it's only fair to give the public and any stakeholders an additional opportunity to comment, especially now that we know exactly what rules the board is going to be adjusting and how. So then once we have a official draft of all of the proposed rules approved by the board, I would then contact the revisor's office, get official copies, and then I want to make sure that those are on the website for people to look at when they're considering any comments that they would like to make on the proposed rules. We are getting close to the legislative session, so that date is going to be determined, which I will also explain on the 22nd, kind of just looking for blanket approval to post the request for comments once I get drafts of the rules, if they all get approved on the 22nd. After the request for comments, I would bring the comments back to, and you guys can direct me on how you would like to do this, or we can communicate after I get comments back if there's a lot. We can bring those comments to this group first and then see, maybe feel out any recommendations or changes that need to be made, and then bring additional proposed changes to the full board based on the request for comments and let the collective board discuss them. It's really up to the board how you would like to do that. And then once you all have rules that you feel pretty certain about, then we would have to do what's called the dual notice, which is when we would say, now you have 30 days to make additional comment. And if we get 25 or more hearing requests, we'll have a hearing on the rules on such and such date and time. If we go to a hearing, then we'll have that with the ALJ. If not, great, then the sonar and all of that will just go straight to the ALJ, and then he or she will make the determination of whether or not there are any changes or if any of our rules are faulty. And if there are, then we'll have to make those adjustments. So there's quite a long road ahead, but this is the first initial step. And then I think I've touched on this before, like these drafts don't have to be like 100%, that's it, nothing more. Once we submit the sonar, that's when it gets a little bit more tricky. Like any changes can't be substantially different than what was proposed. And if they are, then we ultimately just have to withdraw. But up until we submit the sonar to the ALJ and the revisor's office, the board is free to make adjustments based on comment or other issues that come up as they would like to.
Good to know.
Okay.
So this isn't the last time we'll be talking about this, is what I'm going to gather from all of that.
No, I will be quite a nuisance for probably the next year.
That's okay.
Okay, good. Yeah, good. Nice thing is that we still have a lot of stakeholder involvement pieces yet. So for me, that's comforting, because if, something was missed, or if there's like a loophole or a gap that needs to be closed, we still have a decent amount of time to hopefully catch that, which is always my fear, like, did I write something poorly or whatever, so.
Sounds good.
Thanks for the update. Yeah, that's, thanks for that. And then, if there's anything for the good of the order, I guess if not, we'll probably make a motion to adjourn.
All second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Thank you, guys. I put a lot of work into this. I hope, the board will see what we see and support us in moving this forward. If not, I'm sure they'll probably make a recommendation to come back. But again, thanks Kelly for stepping in and taking that spot. Otherwise, I had to run over there from over here, 3 blocks away. So again, thank you, everyone.